I told you that the very experiences that breaks us are some of those things that could forge us into strong people. So by show of hand, who here has experienced one form of trauma or the other? Really? Okay, so probably at the end of my TED Talk, you would realize that you have gone through one form of trauma or the other. I'll tell you a story. So there was this girl, a typical daddy's girl, had everything going for her. Typical daddy's princess. And then COVID hit. And then she had to spend 2 whole weeks at the hospital taking care of her dad. Remember, everywhere was on lockdown, so they had to be squarely in the hospital. Now, of course, there were other patients there with their relatives. Then came a night. The oxygen was exhausted, and they needed to rely on delivery of the oxygen tanks from outside of the hospital. Now, there are other patients there. They're groaning, they're dying. And she looked at her father. Her father's oxygen was almost running out. With a weak voice, her father said, "Please, when the oxygen tanks get here, ensure to get one for me." Daddy's girl. She could exchange her breath in a twinkle of an eye to save her father. And then so they waited. And then the oxygen tanks arrived. Now, on the opposite room, there was an old lady, and her caregiver was a 7-year-old girl. Remember, other patients were in the facility, and oxygen had run out. Now the truck is here with the tanks. If you've seen oxygen tanks, they're taller than me, yeah? And then all these adults running out. They need to grab a tank for their loved ones. And then there's the 8-year-old girl. The girl went, she grabbed the tank. She got the tank to her father. The 8-year-old girl couldn't. And so the next day, the old lady died. But the girl's father was saved for the night. It changed the girl's perspective on human behavior. I mean, it's every man for himself out there, isn't it? Okay. So now I have painted that picture. Are you thinking of trauma? The girl must have gone through some trauma, isn't it? Because what is trauma? It's your emotional response to a distressing event. It changes your perspective. It changes the way you look at the world. It changes the way you respond to things. Now we are TEDx Angwarukuba. I am very certain that with the crisis, killings, skirmishes, Angwarukuba has been one region in Jos that has faced a lot of trauma. Now, We have different types of trauma. So we have the acute trauma, exposure to a single stressor, maybe the loss of a loved one, maybe a case of abuse, neglect. We have chronic trauma, where it's a repeated exposure to a distressing event. You have complex trauma, where you have multiple stressors coming in. You have secondary trauma, where you probably have been taking care of people that are directly affected by trauma, or you've seen, a lot of traumatic events. You turn on the radio, they're talking about killings here. They're talking about 150 people were murdered in their sleep. 200 here. When will it stop? You have developmental trauma, exposure to trauma at an early age. Now think, Angwarukuba, where do you fall in this category? So if I ask you again, have you experienced one form of trauma or another? Show of hands. Now I have more hands. But so, when trauma comes, what does it do to us? It changes the way we think. It changes our relationships. It changes our body. It changes our perspectives. But then, after the trauma, what do we do? So, we have, after the trauma, post-traumatic stress. You've heard of PTSD, a lot thrown around. Some people succumb to that trauma and they are not able to leave the trauma behind. So it becomes part of them. Some people survive the trauma, but they have scars to show for that trauma. Most people recover from the trauma. That's where resilience comes in. But then, after recovering, after being resilient, is there anything else after that? So you find out that 60% of people that have experienced trauma recover, and then, they just go about their merry way. Then you have the percentage that actually move from recovery to thriving and flourishing, post-traumatic growth. So now, it's not like, they became a better person because of adversity. That way, they would be chasing adversity all around, isn't it? To make us better, to make us wiser. But, it changes their perspective on life. It changes the way they see the world. It changes the way they approach things, their preparedness for trauma. So, would you say that the Plateau people, Angwarukuba region, are we just the resilient people? Or have we thrived and flourished through these many years of skirmishes, of killings, of crisis? So, the topic I was given was trauma performance interplay. Can it help us to have mental mastery? The answer is yes. 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 Because once you've left the resilient portion of recovering from trauma and you move into the thriving, then yes, you start to think, how can I go about this? How can I be more prepared if this should happen again? Because, we do not control everything. If we did control everything, then bad things won't happen to good people. So, bad things would always happen to good people. But the difference is, do you let it overcome you? So, yes, you struggle from the trauma. You accept it. You grovel in the pain. It hurts. You survive it. After surviving it, you rebuild. You rebuild. After rebuilding, you reflect. You reflect and then you celebrate. So now, not to force forced positivity now. So yes, you can go from pain to purpose. You can take what has caused you hurt, you can take what has caused you pain, and push that through into purpose. So like the girl I was talking about, her dad died. Yeah. Her dad died. And she was angry because they fought. I mean, she saw an elderly lady dying. She rushed for a tank to save her father, but her father died. And then all of a sudden, she's thrown into big shoes that she wasn't prepared to feel. It lingered, yeah, but then she turned that pain into purpose. And she realized that she could use that pain and push past the pain and fill in those shoes and become a better person. That girl is me, by the way. But then, that's not to say that everybody needs to find trauma to be better. No. Some traumas are just trauma. They are just trauma. You get hurt, you stand up, you dust up yourself, and you go. And it's okay. Do not let anybody pressure you that, you get rewarded with wisdom from suffering. No. So, on one hand, you can turn pain into purpose. On the other hand, it is just pain. And you can just move on. But then, in our communities, how do we help people or ourselves who have gone through trauma and are just stuck? We need to be empathic. Walk in other people's shoes. Do not isolate them. Now we're in Angwarukuba. It's a community that has seen several negativity. So definitely, you know somebody who knows somebody that has gone through a trauma. Now, are you just going to watch them wallow in the trauma? Or yourself, are you just going to remain and just wallow in the hurt and the pain and just stew in it? For some people, it is pretty easy to pick up themselves, dust themselves, and yeah, they're off. It's another day. Some people aren't just as resilient as that. That's why you have community. Something like this. Your church, your religious buddies, your Angwa meetings. You don't just leave people like, they came or they killed this person's child. And then it's almost like it's a plague. I do not want to, so that they don't think I'm their friend and then the next thing would hit me. No. So, we should be able to take whatever happens to us, learn from it, and forge ahead. Learn from it and forge ahead. So now we're here. How do we fuel this mental mastery? I'm a teacher, so maybe I should just list 3 things that, So yes, so engaging youth mentorship programs, in our different communities. You can start in your area. You have teenagers going about. You have people that look up to you. You can have small meetings 1 month, every month or the other. You probably have gone through one trauma or the other. Tell your stories. People will learn from your stories. 3, celebrate. Celebrate not just your survival of the trauma, but your reinvention. We have redefine. So the more you talk about it, the more you're able to push past it. My new friend, Barrister Paula, was just telling me this morning about her talking to somebody, and then she realized that, she has some suppressed trauma that she hasn't dealt with. And it eats at you. It eats at you. Now, like I said before, some people cannot come out of the trauma by themselves. Then you need to seek professional help. You need to seek professional help. So that girl, and it should not be stigmatized. So me, the daddy's little girl, I had to seek therapy. And I was able to take my pain and take it into purpose. Because, I kept asking, why me? Why? I wasn't prepared for this. So, I'll leave you with this final thought. What if the question isn't, why me? What if the question is, it has happened. What can I create because it did? Thank you.